Hello and welcome to this our latest episode. Today we are going to deal the reports. Now, reports can be written or oral. Today I'm going to deal the written report, but with a promise to come back and deal the oral report because even that one is of equal importance. A report or written report can be made by an individual, that's a single person, or it can be a group of persons, most likely a committee that had been constituted. What is important is that in either case, there will have been an appointing authority, that mandated the individual or the group to collect, collate, and compile information, then present it in the form of a report. And this is normally done for a particular purpose, as we shall see as we go along. That's why we say that there can be many types of reports. It can be an incident report, it can be an investigative report, it can be an annual report in the form of the chairman's report during an AGM, or equally the treasurer's report during the same occasion, the AGM. It can be a research studies report, and so on and so forth. Now, reports give detailed first-hand information of things that happened sometimes in the past, but in the handing in of the report to the appointing authority, whatever had happened is being documented. So we can say that report writing is documentation of information. And that information will serve as a record that will highlight the development of a group or an organization or an institution, either way. They identify different purposes. They have different goals and objectives. Now, a report can be the simple report or the formal report. We will start today, or in this particular episode, with the simple report. But we shall follow up with the formal report as a build-up to report writing. Before we go any further, let me remind you to like this episode, I hope you do, and to subscribe. Subscribe so that you'll be getting notified of future programs that we have lined up for you. So please hit that notification bell. Then watch this one right up to the end. It will be of great benefit to you, and I'll be most appreciative of you for doing that. And then remember, if you will please to comment in the comment section there below. Let me put it this, that report writing or the ability to write a good report is useful to a whole range of people. Here, I'm thinking of students in school, secondary school, for example, or even in primary school, students in school. There are times you'll be required to write a report for one reason or another. Maybe you observed an incident happening, or maybe you're taking part in the investigation of something that has been happening in the school, or maybe you're reporting to your club or society, and then, after a function, you are reporting. And then not to lose sight of the fact that report writing is part of the examinable syllabus, and therefore the need to be able to learn how to write a report, and especially in manner of layout, content, and language use. And this is precisely what we shall be doing in this episode. So please remain interested. Then for students now in colleges and university, you too will be required to be making reports from time to time. I can also imagine that whatever course you are taking, there might be a module that deals with communication, because business communication is important in almost all spheres of life. And as part of preparation for you joining the world of work and career, So report writing is an important skill. And for those who are already at their workplaces, you're already in the world of work and career, as part of your professional development, you need to be adept at report writing. As a matter of fact, I can tell you that being able to write good reports makes you the bellwether in your group. Bellwether just means the lead cow. If you saw a herd of cows making their way to the pastures, you will see that there is the lead one that is leading on the other, and the others follow. Hey, this is one way you can turn yourself into a bellwether in your company by learning how to write good reports. So keep interested. Even in our own private lives, I'm telling you, the skill of report writing is of crucial importance. So I'm urging all of us to follow us right up to the end. In the world of work and business, reports help groups, companies, firms, organizations in making decisions, and good decisions for that matter. And because decisions are made, good decisions are made, such groups are able to form their goals and objectives which to follow. Not only that, they will come up with plans. They will come up with rules and regulations. They will come up with products, new products, innovative products to take to the market, or services, goods and services. They will come up with goods and services again to take to the market. And the facilitator of all this is a good report. Because as it is, we say that once a purpose is identified, part of it is to either investigate it, research it, and then come up with a report. And this is what makes the business world run. So, report writing is a lifetime, purpose-driven skill, very much applicable in many areas of our lives, and in which everyone should be adept at. Let us now get to writing the simple report. To be able to do it and do it right, you will need to get the following right. The layout or format, some people rather call it format, layout and format, the content of that report, and language use. So let us look at each of these in finer details. In terms of layout, we start with the title. The title must appear as the heading or on the very first page if it's a longer, lengthier report. The fact of the matter is that it must be clearly noticeable at the very top or on the first page of the report, and has got information that will tell the reader what that report is about. So it must be a good encapsulation of content, a good summary of content, as can be seen in the heading here below now of a report that we shall follow. Note the content of that report, that just by reading that heading, you can get what that report is about. So a good heading will be an encapsulation, a summary of what that report is about. Number 2, in terms of content, a report will have the introduction, body, and conclusion. So we look at each of that in greater details, starting with the introduction A. The introduction is, as expected, a general overview of what the report is about. That is what it introduces the reader to. Then it will mention the reason why the report is being written, the purpose for which that task was undertaken, and then it will provide all the important background information about that. about this subject. Then it is a good practice to take at least a line or two from the conclusion and make them part of the introduction. It's a kind of, you whet the appetite of the person to want to see, or when they encounter it later in the conclusion, it will sound all too familiar, and it is a way of tying up the content of that report. Information on the topic or the subject. As an added measure, for good measure, the introduction can also take an important point or argument from the conclusion and place it in as part of the introduction. The body. The body, as expected, will give all the important details, enough details about the report. Whatever type it is, for whatever purpose the report was undertaken, then there will be important details. Whether it was investigation, whether it was an incident that happened, whether it was a research study carried out, whatever the case, all the important details will be included in the body. And then the most important thing is that that information will be arranged in a manner that is easy to understand. So the presentation of that report is most important. Luckily for the simple report, all that is required is good paragraphing. Just to follow the rules, the principles of good paragraphing, and that becomes easy. But then it depends on the type of, on who is the readership, who is going to read that report. If it's a report that is for general circulation, for many people to read, it is good to make certain that not much jargon appears, no complicated words appear in that report. It should be nice and simple for people to understand. But then, if the report is being written for a very technical group, of course, it's advisable to use all the industry words, the register of that group of people. It's advisable. Yeah, but it is important to check against things like superfluity, not too many words. Don't be superfluous in writing that report. In fact, the rule here, the steady first rule is don't use 2 words where 1 word will do. In that way, you can avoid superfluity. As well, avoid irrelevancies. If it's not a point is not relevant, leave it out. Then it is good to include the findings in the body. In fact, this is part of the main body. The finding of the report, let it be, for the simple report, let it be included in the body. That takes us to C, and this is the conclusion. Now, as it is, the conclusion, that last frontier of that report, is a wrap-up of everything that has been said. But when you write your report, knowing very well that the reader will have seen the content, it is now good to concentrate on the inferences that can be drawn from reading that report. What can they infer? What are the implications therein in that report? That is the task at hand in writing your conclusion. Not to forget that technically you will be required to include the recommendations. And the recommendations comes in forms of measurable actions that will be taken in order to address whatever the report is about. If it is a problem, to find solutions. If it is some innovation, some products or services, some innovative ways of doing it, there should be recommendations on how to do that. If it was the research studies, come with ways that will project the future. So at least measurable actions must be included in the report. And don't leave it at that. It's always good to give a suggestion how the actions undertaken will affect the group or the organization or the company. Is it in a positive or negative way? Or is it in a good way or in adverse manner, it is good to mention that how it will affect the group overall or the organization overall. Now, here is a sample of a short incident report. I want you to listen as I read along, or better still, read along with me because the text is available. But the important thing is that see how much details about the incident you can glean from the report. And more specifically, to who did the incident occur? Where did it occur? What time did it occur? What type of injury was suspected? What was the sequence of events? What is the particular type of injury? What treatment was received? Who were the witnesses to this incident? Who are the other people involved? What is being done in the short term? And what is projected in the long term or in the future? So here we go. Report of an incident that involved John Bosco Mwelo of Ovumbuzi Academy during the PE period on 21st October 2021. On 21st October 2021, in Ovumbuzi Academy, along General Wakimingi Street in Nairobi, one student, John Bosco Mwelo, fell while playing football with members of his class on the first 11 pitch during a PE lesson between 11:20 a.m. to noon. The cause of the fall was a hole on the spot where he fell in the field. While in motion, his right foot got into the crack on the field, where it remained as the rest of the body lunged forward. The result was suspected fracture in the foot. A second possible cause of the injury is that the student was playing football in worn-out leather shoes. When John fell, his classmates rushed to his assistance, but when they attempted to lift him, he let out a loud scream. Now assured that the student had suffered a fracture, the PE teacher, Miss Zake, called the main office and asked that the school clinic staff be informed to arrange and come to attend to the emergency that had occurred in the fields. Rushing to the spot, the teacher noted that the boy's leg was lodged in a crack. With the help of the students, they managed to remove a big lump of clay soil and this way dislodged the leg. 4 of John's classmates, who were qualified St. John ambulance cadets, succeeded in placing him on recovery position as response from the clinic staff was awaited. John was rushed to hospital and complete rupture of the Achilles tendon was confirmed. The doctor, however, decided that non-surgical treatment would work for him, only that he will have to remain in hospital for a number of days. The games department is now working with the school administration to see to it that, as a short-term measure, the numerous cracks in the fields are filled up with soil. It is hoped this will lessen the chances of such incidents occurring in future. In the long term, the plan is to have the fields carpeted. Report compiled by Myra Zake, physical education teacher. Now on to the third aspect of the simple report, and this is language use. Now, the first point to note is that in the report, it's an official document because many times these reports are filed as official documents. Sometimes they may be required where there are cases, they may be required and quoted, and sometimes even in court cases. So it is good to treat it as strictly formal and therefore use formal language, meaning no colloquialism, no slang, no can't, don't use that, no contracted forms of words, and then the language used must be official. In tone, it must be official language. Again, second aspect is that this is factual writing. So you must use the objective. You must be objective. Because it's factual writing, you must be objective. Then use the third person in point of view. The third person strictly is what will be used. No room for the first person, no room for the second person. It is the third person point of view to use. Then brevity is a hallmark of the simple report. So include only what is important, what is relevant, in order to stop writing on and on and on and on. That is not the idea. You must be brief. Then, as we say, the language must be easy to understand. Language must be easy to understand. Therefore, avoid difficult vocabulary. There's no room for elaborate metaphors, even no idiomatic expressions. You don't need them as much as possible. Report factually. Use your own fresh and crisp expressions other than idioms. Don't include them. We said jargon. Avoid a lot of that unless it is for a very specific reason. Then there's no use of figurative language. No use of figurative language. There's no room for that here. It's not part of creative writing. So you can leave out those ironies, paradox, leave them out. No room for that. Then a very important aspect of simple or language use in report is that you must always be positive. In the report that we've just read, you would have noted that possibly there was a delay between the time the clinic staff responded, from the time they were summoned to come and attend to the emergency to the time they reported. But that was not reported in the simple report. It was not recorded. What was recorded is that the child was taken to hospital. So rather than report negative things, say what was done and what was important. So much in terms of language use, where we say use formal language, be factual, be objective, avoid figurative use of language, but use simple language that is easy to understand, and then always make certain that you write in a positive manner. So there we go. We have looked at the simple report in terms of the layout, the content to include, and the language use. There will be a follow-up this with the formal report, which is a build-up from what we have started on. So don't miss this next one. So I remind you, subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you'll get it in real time when I upload it next. Bye for now. God bless.